You're listening to Packers Talk Network.
PackersTalk.com. Do you want to experience the thrill of a Packers game at Lambeau Field? If so, be sure to get your game ticket from the longtime trusted source in Wisconsin, Ticket King. Visit their locations in Milwaukee and Green Bay, or just go to their website at ticketking.com. Again, that's at ticketking.com.
Throws it up in the air, says a prayer, and Janis is on. Oh, please! What a cat! That's insane!
You're listening to the best Packer radio show on the internet.
Cheesehead Radio.
Reach the eye. Get those back. So I think that's the logical explanation.
Let's just, say that didn't happen.
It was a return to greatness. It was a return to form.
It's crazy. And he just kind of flew under the radar.
Get this out there so I sound good on Cheesehead Radio.
Yeah.
No negativity allowed, sir.
So I think that's actually going to be really exciting to watch. I don't think there's anything positive we can say. There's a lot.
Oh, you were looking for positive.
Yeah. I guess that's what I meant. Positive, I think. Welcome, everybody, to another night of Cheesehead Radio. Your hosts tonight are the outlandishly delusional C.D. Angeli of PackersTalk.com and Cheesehead TV. We also have the amiable Michelle Bruton of Cheesehead TV and Bleacher Report. Joining those two fantastic personalities will be the astounding Jamie Snowden of Cheesehead TV and little old me, Jersey Al of Cheesehead TV and Packers Talk. Sponsoring the Packers Talk Network this year are the fine folks at Ticket King. They've been doing business in Wisconsin, selling tickets for just short of 25 years. They have a great reputation. Please check them out at their website at theticketking.com. Joining us tonight as a special guest will be the host of the ever-famous Clubhouse Live, the multimedia guru of the Post-Crescent and USA Today Sports, and author of Over and Back, Mickey Crow. Brett Christopherson will be joining us tonight. So let's get this started with some Packers news.
Packers news.
All right. The biggest news in Packer Nation this week was that Ted Thompson made a rare trade, acquiring running back Niall Davis from the Chiefs for a conditional draft pick. Cue the shock and awe.
I was also shocked when he followed me on Twitter. I thought that was interesting. Anyway, staying on the subject of running backs, we have a lot of injury news on that front because heaven knows that's what the Packers have a lot of. The Packers officially announced Wednesday that Eddie Lacy is out versus the Bears. James Starks is also out now for at least 4 weeks as he recovers from knee injury. The Packers will reportedly promote practice squad halfback Don Jackson to the roster for Thursday's game against the Bears, but will need to clear a spot prior.
Staying on the unfortunate yet ubiquitous subject of injuries, 7 players in total have been ruled out for Thursday's game. In addition to Lacy and Starks, Demarius Randall, Quinton Rollins, Jared Cook, Chris Banjo, and Jared Aboudaris are out. Devontae Adams is questionable.
You can make up an entire side of a football team with the injuries here. As for notable injuries on the Bears side, don't expect Josh Sitton to exact any revenge against the team that cut him this summer. Sitton is listed as doubtful for Thursday with an ankle injury.
And finally, to round out the depressing injury news segment of tonight's show, the Packers place Sam Shields on injured reserve Tuesday. He can come back in 8 weeks if he is the one player the Packers choose to designate to return at that time.
In happier news, I'm glad I got the only happy news of the news segment tonight. Center Corey Linsley was back at practice this week, taking the field for the first time since May when he injured his hamstring. Linsley was placed on the PUP list prior to the start of the season, so now that 6 weeks have passed, he is eligible to be activated. However, given how well J.C. Treader has been playing, we may not see Linsley take the field this year.
In other encouraging news, I get to share the joy too, CD. Tight end Jared Cook was spotted in the locker room Tuesday without his walking boot and has begun workout. Though Cook is listed as out for this week's game, it's encouraging news given how desperately the offense needs a spark in the passing game.
So really, Michelle, your good news was just not really that bad of news. I love it. Okay.
Hey, what else can we ask for?
That's all we got this week.
That's where we are.
Finally, this is where we've ended up. Finally, fans can look forward to seeing the Packers, can look forward, in air quotes, to seeing the Packers in their color rush uniforms on Thursday Night Football. But spoiler alert, they're entirely white. Take that, NFL.
And that was your Packers news of the week. Now it's time for your
Packer Tweets from Packer Tweets.
Well, if you're listening to us live, you're missing the third presidential debate. And frankly, I would rather be listening to us too. However, in honor of one of our presidential candidates, I offer this gem from @MoDalla. The Packers versus Cowboys results were rigged, folks. They were rigged. Parentheses, Donald Trump voice.
Monday morning was a rough one for us all, with water cooler anguish over the Packers' recent follies reaching epic proportions. Even in our local post-secondary educational systems are not immune. As L. Michael94 tweeted, professor started class with a 25-minute rant about his precious Packers. I would say this is an effective use of my tuition.
For all the criticism Aaron Rodgers is taking, he still has that cocky, offbeat sense of humor, as @Brennan_James lets us know. AR is the best. Reporter, you said you were going to have some scotch and look over the game film. What did you see? Rodgers' reply, the scotch was great.
That's about all that was great. Finally, Aaron's brother, @the Luke Rogers, chimes in with the hopes that Eddie Lacy's absence will not be short, but also will not only be short, but also, shall we say, less fruitful for him in the long run. Quoting, the real question is, how do you keep Eddie from the dollar menu while he's hurt?
Let's hope Eddie's deal with A&W remains monetary only. We sure want to see him keep hurdling defenders, not burgers. And that was definitely this week's Cheesehead Radio Tweet of the Week.
Tweet of the Week.
And silence. Wonder if CD is speaking right now.
Oh, no. I wanted to give someone else a chance to, segue out of that. Come on. So we can all take turns. There's four of us.
Our trusty captain. We rely on you to take us from segment to segment.
That's right. It's your job.
Segue master. The segue master. All right. Okay, well, how about we get to the playbook, which is our segment where we just talk about stuff. And I made a sting for it, guys. We have a sting for it finally.
All right, let's hear it.
Excited?
The playbook.
Wow.
Wasn't as good as I thought it would be, honestly. That actually kind of sucked.
Well, okay. I was going to say something, but you'll get offended, so no, I'm not going to say it.
No, go ahead and say it.
Nope.
Al, I'm a little disappointed we didn't get to hear your Donald Trump voice when you read that tweet. I think you should reread it in the Donald Trump voice.
I don't do a Donald Trump voice. Trust me, it's one of the last things I want to do. You're stuck with my voice.
So, let's kick it off right now. We have Brett Christopherson joining us in a few minutes. Very excited about that. But Niall Davis.
Yep.
You might remember Niall Davis ran back that kickoff return, I think it was last season, and has been rather erratic. He's kind of a shifty third down back. But right now, he may be all we have in the running game tomorrow night against the Bears, who, by the way, don't really give up a whole lot of rushing yards. So any hope on this, guys? Is this just a shot in the dark, a temporary thing, or you think there's some hope here?
Well, I think the one thing that's... Oh, go ahead, Al.
Beautiful.
I was just going to say, Niall Davis is a warm body, is what he is. They needed somebody. They had nobody. I have no tremendous hopes for Niall Davis. He'll be serviceable. You know, he comes from Kansas City, you know, with the Andy Reid system, so he's going to have some familiarity with how McCarthy does things, and certainly, you know, with the Packers playbook only being about 2 pages long, I don't think it'll be that much of a trouble for him to learn handoff right, handoff left, toss right, toss left. So I think that's pretty much it for a running back on the Packers. So they needed somebody. That's all. Go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah, you know, Davis obviously is someone who you want to have as a complementary piece. He's someone you want to be able to use on third down. You want to be able to use him in the receiving game. He's not someone you want to try to plug into a power run scheme that requires big bowling ball type guys who can go up the middle. That's just not something he's going to be good at. But it is interesting to think of, what packages they even choose to prepare him in this week as he learns a limited number of the playbook. But, given his speed, he has, it's not just speed, it's quickness. Eddie Lacy had speed. Lacy ran a 4.44 second 40, but that doesn't always translate to the field. Davis has quickness. He had a 4.3 second 40, and we've seen him in games he's played with the Chiefs really just break away and be quick. And so that's something the Packers sort of haven't always had at the running back position, and I would love to see what it looks like when that goes well for them. I'm just not sure, especially with the way ball management and ball security has been lately. I'm really worried we're going to see some fumble-rooskies either on the handoff from Aaron Rodgers or just when Davis gets the ball and starts running with it. And that's the one thing the Packers do not need this week.
Can Davis jump over tacklers, though? I think that's important to know because, we've gotten really used to that suddenly after 1 week.
I think one of my concerns is that when you bring in someone so new, especially in such a short week, and they're the only running back, how much trust can we have on him? Bears know that. Then it's, at least when Eddie Lacy's in, you're not always like, oh, it's a run play. I feel like every time Miles Davis is in, it's, oh, it's a run play, or he's just going to stand in the backfield and not do anything. I feel it like Al said, the Packers' playbook is limited to begin with at this point, but I feel that might actually limit it a little bit more.
All right. So we're getting the feeling that he's going to be using the LaShawn Johnson playbook in which we just tell him to follow the number on the back of one of the offensive linemen.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll mean we see more Ripkowski,
Ooh.
Hey, just follow number 27. Yeah, just
in
follow
your dreams, Al.
I know, in my dreams.
Oh, man.
I got a Ripkowski Jones. Anyway.
Well, let's
the millennials
start
didn't
a little
understand
discussion.
that comment, but
none of the three of us did.
Okay.
Let's start. Let's just hit it. We got a little bit of time here before Brett comes on. Aaron Rodgers. Just a little bit of drama going on. A lot of questioning. He's even questioning himself a little bit publicly, which amusing after we spoke a few weeks ago about the whole I'm back thing. Suddenly, I guess he's not back. I guess he's away again. Let's just go around the horn here. What's some thoughts? What's going on with Aaron Rodgers? And how is it affecting the team? Or is the team affecting him, which is now the popular counter-argument?
Obviously it's a little bit of a chicken and egg situation. I think that my opinion about the whole thing, and this sounds like something that I've just sort of started thinking as of now because it's convenient, and I promise it's not. I've thought this for years. But the thing about Aaron is when he first got to Green Bay, Mike McCarthy, who is a little bit of a quarterback whisperer, had to basically just reposition all of his mechanics. He had a really weird throwing motion. McCarthy had to bring his arm way down. And so Rodgers' mechanics have never been great. We've seen him throw off his back foot a lot. We've seen him throw with no feet planted at all. And the two things that I've always sort of covered for him on that have been, A, he gets a lot of big plays off on free plays, which he hasn't had so much luck with this year. And B, the offense and his receivers have always kind of been good enough to compensate for that. So when you have Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, James Jones, all on the field, Jermichael Finley, all on the field, it's impossible to find them all in man coverage, and so Rodgers always had an open target. So I think now what we're seeing is the offense has become so vanilla, and the defenses have become so able to blanket the receivers in man coverage that Rodgers' mechanics, or lack thereof, suddenly become really glaring.
Yeah, I think everything you said there makes total and complete sense. I probably blame Rodgers a little less than the average person because I just don't see his coach doing much to help out. It still seems like it's all thrown on his shoulders, that he has to create everything, and there isn't a lot done as far as different routes and different schemes to help get receivers open and maybe get some quick passes out so he's not sitting back there. It's great that the offensive line is giving him so much time, but I think what ends up happening is you have a bunch of receivers just scrambling around, and you kind of can't build up a rhythm like that. So I just don't think that Rodgers is getting very much help from his coach, and it started last year. I think we're seeing the exact same type of things we saw last year, other than, McCarthy has tried to use more personnel groups and less no huddle. I mean, that's his idea of making a change, but the plays are the same. Just a tempo thing. The plays are not different. I don't see anything creative or dynamic that's going to mess up a defense or fool them, and I think that's something that's sorely needed now to help Rodgers get out of this slump.
Alex, I agree that he's not getting help from McCarthy, especially because since the receivers are so young and inexperienced with Rodgers. I mean, the ones outside of the top three-ish. And so it's hard for him to develop those kind of unique ways that he could always make plays work. Because they're just not getting those chances, and McCarthy's not setting them up for it. But I just will say it's very strange to see someone who you're used to being so disciplined. That was always the thing that made him different from Favre. They both were very fun to watch. Rodgers was more accurate. He just followed more. And all of a sudden he's just kind of, it's not as steady, and it's not as disciplined as it used to be. And so that's weird for me.
Right.
But I think CD has our guest ready, so we can find out if it's weird for Brett as well.
Sounds good.
From the Post-Crescent and USA Today, and host of Clubhouse Live, Brett Christopherson.
All right. Brett, just want to say, hey, a huge welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us here on Cheesehead Radio.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate the invite. Looking forward to spending some time with you, talk a little Packer football, maybe a little Clubhouse Live. So let's get at it, huh?
Let's do it. First of all, just obvious question. What the hell's going on with this team right now? What's going on? Offense, defense, team's just falling apart on everything. Give us, the Cliff Notes version. What's going on?
Well, I had a feeling you were going to ask me that. I'm gonna say what everybody else is saying, and I have no idea. Because
oh man, I thought you had the answer. Come on, man.
Thank you for listening, everybody.
How am I going to have the answer if nobody else has the answer? How am I going to have the answer if the guys in the film room don't have the answer? So this has been going on obviously about a calendar year now, and I think it's a little of a lot of things. I think obviously Aaron Rodgers is not pinpoint as we've seen him in years past. Receivers are having trouble separating and getting open consistently. Mike McCarthy's offense seems to have gotten stale and predictable, as Josh Sitton said on our show last year. So I just think it's a little of everything. Defensively, I'm probably in the minority. I thought the defense was playing pretty well up until that debacle at the end of the first half against Dallas. It was a 10-6 game. They were getting off the field on third down. If that offense is any sort of operational like we've seen in years past, I think Green Bay wins that game and wins that game somewhat comfortably because the offense is scoring points. It's putting pressure on the Cowboys. It's making Dak Prescott throw the ball rather than Dallas relying on the strength and running the ball. So I'm not as down on the defense after last week as maybe some people are. But offensively, again, I just think it's a little bit of a lot of things right now.
All right, thank you. Michelle.
All right. Hi, Brett. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I know you spent some time with Ty Montgomery on Clubhouse Live, and he seems like such a fun guy also, by the way.
Yeah, we call him Bam Bam. He's Bam Bam now.
That's amazing. So I want to hear more stories about Bam Bam, after dark, off the field, but also just in terms of on the field. Do you think that Ty Montgomery, so obviously we saw him have some great production on the field against the Cowboys. A little bit of it was due to necessity, but do you think he can kind of reproduce that production that he found against them? And how might it hurt the passing game if he's required to be in the backfield given the exigency at the running back position? Do you think that it would be a mistake to use him back there too much?
Well, no, because I think you said the right word, out of necessity right now. They have no choice. Eddie Lacy is obviously banged up. James Starks is out. Aaron Ripkowski is a fullback in the classic sense. He's not a guy that like Kuhn was in years past where he can maybe be a quasi-tailback. So it's not a mistake because they need Ty Montgomery there. And he told us on the show on Monday night, I asked him, I said, what are the challenges in learning running back versus being a wide receiver? And he said he basically had to learn another playbook, and it's difficult. And there are things like blitz pickups and reading stunts and knowing how the offensive line wants to block or how they should block or which way he needs to read the block, that sort of thing. So it's like learning, as he said, kind of a whole new offense as opposed to what he's used to in the passing game and the route concepts that he is, still learning as a second-year player. Obviously he's still an evolving wide receiver, so you add you put a lot on his plate right now. Can he recreate the 10-catch, 98-yard game that he had against Dallas? Yeah, I think so. Again, it might be out of necessity if the receivers are struggling to get open and Aaron Rodgers is struggling to find a rhythm with his receivers. He might have to go the check down route, and you let Montgomery make plays out of the backfield. I would like to see McCarthy get a little bit more creative when Montgomery's in the backfield, and Randall Cobb for that matter too. I'm sure you guys, and I'm sure Packer fans everywhere are sick of the just basic handoff to number 18 and number 88, the off-tackle play or the between-tackle handoff that's going nowhere right now. Be creative, maybe try some misdirection type stuff where you can get Montgomery and even Cobb in space and let them use, especially Ty, his speed. So I like the dynamic that Montgomery can bring back there. It's just an evolving process with the young wide receiver right now.
Right, absolutely.
Okay, Brett, this is Jamie. I watched a lot of Clubhouse Live back when you had Puma, Tom Crabtree on. And I remember you had quite the bromance with him. So I just have to ask, number one, how much you miss Tom Crabtree? And then also just how does Clubhouse Live change with the different hosts from Crab to Kuhn to Montgomery now? Yeah.
Let's get the first question. How much do I miss the Puma? I miss him. Well, we keep in contact. We keep we have a few conversations. Actually, he was on our show last year. He was back in Appleton, back in the area, and reached out and asked if if there's anything he could do or if he could come on. We of course welcomed him back with open arms, and the clubhouse was packed to see the return of the Puma. So he'll always be a long time or a forever friend of the show, and hopefully maybe this year he might come back. He's kind of making some noise about maybe getting back in the Appleton, Green Bay area again. So, hey, Tom was the one who really, I guess, put us on the map, because before we brought Tom onto the show, that was back in 2012, it was me either going into the locker room and begging and pleading guys to come on, or it was me after a game, covering a game and going into the locker room and begging and pleading guys to come on, which is probably not the right time to be doing that after a game. You'd rather be doing that, during a Thursday or Wednesday or Friday or something like that when it's post-practice type stuff. So always forever grateful for Tom. And how the dynamic change. Every guy has his own personality, but yet they have the same personality that fits the show. Tom is kind of a zany, goofy guy, and those of you who have watched Clubhouse Live know we purposely stay away from being an X's and O's show. We think there are more than enough of those shows out there. We know the guys don't necessarily enjoy doing X's and O's stuff or drawing plays on a telestrator. So what we do is we entertain, and we try to get the personalities out of these guys, whether it's our co-host or whether it's the guys they bring on. Kick back, relax, let them get their, drop their guard a little bit, and play some games and just have fun. We'll mix in some football talk, and it seems to be a recipe that works, or a formula that works. So Tom was zany. He liked to do different things. He liked to play along. Very fan accessible, willing to include the fans in what we were doing. Then we had 2 seasons of John Kuhn, we called the General, and John was a little bit more stoic, a little bit more, I don't want to say professional because Tom was professional, but John Kuhn was a little bit more buttoned down, a little bit more serious, but he liked to have a good time too. And he played along with the fans and was very fan-friendly, very accessible. Last year we had Bakhtiari on, David Bakhtiari, who we called Hollywood, a nickname that fit him quite well, we thought. He claimed he didn't like it, but we were told that by teammates that he actually really did like it. And David was more of the Tom Crabtree mold. Like to really try to get the show off the rails, try to throw me off a little bit. I had to do my hardest or my darndest to keep things going sometimes, especially when Eddie Lacy was on. But again, a guy that could get serious when we had to. Last year when the offense started to struggle, and obviously he's a key piece of that being the left tackle. Try to pick his brain a little bit here and there. And then this year, Ty Montgomery is probably more back to the John Kuhn sense, a little bit more serious. But again, a guy that loves to have a good time. He's got a great smile, and now we just nicknamed him Bam Bam. So he kind of makes plays, bam bam, up and down the field, and a guy that each of them are very fan-friendly guys that are more than willing to reach out or just include the fans in what they do. So that's kind of a cool thing about Clubhouse Live too. I think we're one of the most fan-friendly shows out there, and what people don't sometimes fail to realize is that these are still human beings. They're still guys. They just happen to have a job that's very public, play professional football for a storied franchise and one of the better franchises in the league. So, but at the end of the day, as they like to say, using a cliche, they are people like you and I. So, and I think they like to be treated as such.
Yeah, I like that part about Clubhouse Live. The How Well Do You Know game show is definitely the best part. Especially when it involves stuff about Wisconsin, like the names of towns and just Wisconsin history. It's really kind of funny to see.
Yeah, we're probably going to have a few of those coming on here a little bit. Actually, we've incorporated some games now. Like we had Ty and Blake Martinez played ping pong on the stage, and we had Ty and Eddie Lacy play a game of Rock'em Sock'em Robots. So
I saw that one.
Yeah, we just try to do different things, and the guys seem to have a great time. They tell us that it's their favorite show, so I'm going to take them at their word, and and hopefully we can keep it going.
Okay, great, thanks. Al?
Hey, Brett, this is Al. Thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Hey,
Al, before you get going, are you the Jersey Al that calls into the fan in Green Bay on occasion?
No, a lot of people have asked me that. No.
Okay, never mind.
I've never called into a radio station.
I now want to meet this other Jersey Al, though.
Yeah, wait a minute. I have another Jersey Al. I thought, I got copyright issues here.
Evil twin.
Yeah, I got trademark issues here. I'm going to have to call.
Yeah, right. You better find this guy.
Yep. All right. In any case, over the last couple of weeks, several NFL analysts and other people connected with the NFL have kind of put forth the theory, observing what's going on with the Packers, that the Packers coaches and management are possibly afraid to say anything negative to or about Aaron Rodgers when it might really be needed, kind of implying that Rodgers runs the team. Now, watching this last week's Clubhouse Live, I thought it was pretty interesting. Something was said that stood out to me. I mean, you were joking around about the team captain picture, and I guess Rodgers had a pretty serious face, and you told Ty Montgomery that he should tell Aaron Rodgers to lighten up a bit, and Montgomery's response immediately was, I like my job, I don't want to tell Aaron anything.
Right.
Which seemed pretty harmless, at the time, but, does it really telling you something?
You could. It's funny you bring that up.
Can we read into that?
I remember thinking the same thing. Kind of, he kind of got Ty was smiling, but I think there was some seriousness in what he was saying too.
Exactly.
The thing about it, though, I guess, is what I would say to that is, again, like I said before, Ty being a second-year wide receiver, still learning, his role in the offense. It's probably not a wise idea to go up to the two-time NFL MVP and say, "Hey, dude,
give me the ball."
Give me the ball. Or what is it? Give me the damn ball. So probably not the best idea to say to Aaron Rodgers. Just like it wasn't a real good idea for a young Aaron Rodgers to call Brett Favre grandpa. Probably not the smartest move in the world for a rookie to come in and talk to the three-time NFL MVP like that. So that's interesting because who knows the dynamic? Truly knows the dynamic.
Right.
Does a beat writer know it? No, because they're not in the meeting rooms with these guys. You don't know what the interaction is between Aaron and the receivers, or Aaron and the offensive line, or Aaron and McCarthy. We don't know that. You just have to go by body language. I think we'd all agree that Aaron's body language isn't the best. Sometimes it looks like he's a little disengaged with things that are going on. Maybe it's just the way how he handles anger. Maybe he's ticked off at his performance or what's going on. Maybe it's frustration because he can't pinpoint exactly what's going on. Maybe he's just in a slump. Maybe that's just the case, and in week 9 he'll bust out and throw for 425 yards and 5 touchdowns. Who knows? It's just a really interesting exercise to see so many people speculate and try to read between the lines and try to gather what's going on based on what somebody says or here or there. I don't know. I guess it goes back to the first question: what's going on with the Packers? I don't know. Nobody knows.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, Brett, let's stay on the topic of Aaron just for a second, because obviously Ty Montgomery is a present player and he's a teammate, and it's not appropriate for a present teammate to really rip on, obviously, a teammate publicly. But former Packer wide receiver and whiny retired prima donna in training Greg Jennings stated to Jason Whitlock this week, Aaron Rodgers got more credit when the team was winning. Now he's got to take the blame for the struggles. He has to look at himself. I'm going to drink that scotch. I'm going to watch myself. He really took it to Rodgers in that very special, mature manner that he has. It's funny that when you do fall from grace, as Rodgers is kind of doing, that everyone comes out of the woodwork and everyone says, yeah, I knew this all along. And it's a little bit of piling on, but I guess to you, is Rodgers' reputation taking a hit? Is it fair?
I don't think it's taken a hit. I think you have to consider the source, right? As you were just kind of laying out Greg Jennings, and I know there was a lot. It was dripping in sarcasm there as well. So, Greg Jennings, obviously leaving the greatest of terms. There were some jabs exchanged there, when he went off to Viking land. So, I don't think his reputation is. I don't think there's anything different with his reputation. I just think. I think, as I said, more people are just baffled as to why he's not as accurate as he has been. Having said that, I was talking to somebody today. What is he got? 10 TDs and 4 picks right now, I believe. Is that right? Mm-hmm. I don't have the stats sitting in front of me. He's got 10 TDs and 4 picks. The Packers are 3-2.
Jamie,
a little bit, maybe a bad decision on Mike McCarthy not to kick the field goal against the Vikings, which would have tied the game, and maybe that's how it goes in overtime, and somehow the Packers win the game. Now they're sitting at 4-1. I don't know. It's just, I guess I'm kind of, let's take a wait-and-see approach. Let's see how the season goes. Let's see if the skid continues all the way through the season, and let's see how Aaron Rodgers reacts. We've had plenty of guys on the show that laud Aaron Rodgers, that have called him a really good teammate. I know, obviously, he and John Kuhn, very close, very tight. He and Tom Crabtree, same thing. Ty Montgomery seems to think very highly of his quarterback. He's very accomplished. Obviously, he's got a glittering resume, and this is really the first true adversity that he's been under in his, 9 seasons as a starter now. So, again, it's, as I said it before, a very interesting exercise to see everybody try to kind of figure this out. Greg Jennings needs to be quiet, I think. It's too easy right now, as you said, to start piling on. Yeah, when there's history there from when Jennings left Green Bay. So, unless things continue to come out with other guys, but I'm not hearing anybody else, any other former teammates saying, you know what, this is how this guy really and truly is. So let's listen. So let's talk. Brett Favre, Tom Brady, Dan Marino, John Elway. You don't think those guys had a little bit of an arrogant streak in them, really? That's what the great quarterbacks are made of. That's why they are great, because they think they're great, and they think that they can make every throw. So I think I want my quarterback to have a little bit of that swagger. So. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I just think let's see how tomorrow night goes. Let's see how it goes in Atlanta. Let's see how it goes with the Colts coming to town, and let's just kind of let this play out a little bit. Let's see if they can finally right this ship. They keep saying they're close, and I don't know what you guys think, but I kind of tend to believe he hits on some throws here, hits on some throws there. All of a sudden, the stats look a little bit different. The results look a little bit different, and maybe nobody's having this conversation. But the fact of the matter is that, his accuracy is a little off right now, and I guess that's to be expected from time to time, isn't it? I mean, don't all great athletes hit a little slump or a little skid from time to time?
Tiger Woods?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not going to go that far with Tiger Woods. He had some other issues too.
Exactly.
But again, he just without having the true knowledge of really being behind the scenes, it's all speculation as to why this isn't working, why that isn't working. I guess let's let it play out and let's just see if this ship can get righted.
Yeah, personally, I think Greg Jennings should let his sister speak for him. That's what I think.
Yeah, there you go.
That'll work out.
And even if we're all quiet, Greg Jennings will still be having the conversation regardless. So maybe with himself, that's about it. Michelle?
All right, so we could talk about Aaron Rodgers the entire show probably, but let's look forward a little bit and talk about the groundbreaking trade that Ted Thompson made this week.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, in an ideal world, if Knile Davis were maybe a complementary piece to Eddie Lacy, he would be more of your third down speedster, maybe use him as a receiver out of the backfield type guy. But that's not the world we live in. We live in the real world, and the world we live in right now is one in which the Packers might have to use the smaller, faster Knile Davis as more of a three-down running back in their power run scheme. So how do you think they can get sort of the most bang for their buck, as it were, with him this week? And do you think he may give us our first touchdown from the running back position this season, which is something that's been kind of conspicuously missing from this offense?
Yeah, I think he can get to the end zone. How is he going to do this week, meaning tomorrow? That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question because I don't know how many plays he's going to know or how many packages that they're going to create for him. Right now, I guess you could kind of say running back by committee. Davis will be in there. Obviously, Montgomery and Cobb will be in the backfield. They'll probably do some more of that jumbo type stuff that we saw for Ripkowski. Maybe they'll mix in a Ripkowski and Davis. Who knows? It's really too bad that Eddie Lacy went down because he was really having a nice season. His yards per carry average was high. The big knock on the Packers' running game wasn't the production; it was the fact that they just weren't using it enough. Using Lacy and Ripkowski as the kind of a battering ram, and getting Lacy lathered up and getting him 25 carries. So, Davis, what was he? A former third-round draft pick, I believe. A guy that was picked in the third or fourth. Yeah. So, a guy that was thought of to maybe be a guy that could do some things in this league. 4.3 speed is nothing to ignore, and it's good. Hopefully, when Lacy does come back and he can be healthy, you mix in this guy that's a nice little changeup with that speed that this team needs, and it really will be interesting to see how this plays out tomorrow. I don't think he's going to be much of a factor tomorrow. I think it's just way too soon to get him in and get him acclimated, and you're probably going to see Green Bay just again Cobb. Montgomery, and probably do a lot of five wide stuff. So using the check downs is kind of the running game, so to speak. Hopefully getting those slants going and using that as a running game. Maybe mixing in a screen. Maybe Davis maybe they have a nice package for him for some screens. There's a potential home run play right there. So we'll see. Again though, it's just so unfortunate that Lacy goes down because I don't know about you guys, but I thought he was off to a good start.
Yeah, averaging 5 yards a carry for someone with Lacy's size and run style is no small feat. So it was a really nice start of the season for him. Really unfortunate.
And you have to give him credit for playing with a bum ankle and really playing well against Dallas. He gutted it out and had some big runs. So credit to Eddie Lacy. He's come to play this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, Brett, it seems like the Packers' rush defense came out of nowhere, and as quickly as it came to be amazing, it went away just as quickly. Where did it go? And last week they got Pennell and Goodson back. Did those two add anything to the defense?
Mixing those guys in after they're suspended, it's probably going to take a little time. So let's just see how this develops, even beyond this week, but looking at the Atlanta game coming up on the 30th. But depth, obviously, as those guys get more acclimated, more in football shape, certainly they're going to be key pieces moving forward. Where did the run defense go? I don't think it went anywhere. Again, I might be in that minority there, but I fully expected the Dallas Cowboys to come in and have success running the football. They have a great offensive line, and they've got a great rookie running back that's a powerhouse right now. So, and what probably one of the top backs already in the NFL. Just a big bruiser with speed. And again, I thought that the Packers defense this past week was doing a good job getting off the field. I know they gave up the first the opening drive to Dallas. Dallas moved right down the field. Green Bay though was getting off the field. Maybe that was more of a function of the play calling by Dallas, that they were relying too much on the passing game. I don't know, but I was actually very much pleasantly surprised by what I saw until the big pass plays. Where Gunter kind of messed up there, and all of a sudden goes from a 10-6 game to a 17-6 game at the half. I thought that was the backbreaker right then and there. If the Packers offense, as I said, if they could function like they are supposed to function, score points, put pressure on the opposition, that game changes. So the defense was on the field way too much, but I thought more because of what the offense couldn't do than what they couldn't do. I really fully expect to have the run defense have a bounce-back game against Chicago. Then you get a little bit of a mini bye, and then we'll see how things look as they go down to Atlanta. I think the run defense is going to be fine this year. I really do. I like their inside linebackers, the Blake and Jake show. I think they've got good depth on that defensive line. I think Mike Daniels is having a nice start to the season, so I think they're going to be okay. Dallas is. Give credit to Dallas. That's a great running attack. Nobody's been able to stop them yet.
Yes, it is a good running attack. I just really don't like to give credit to Dallas ever. I don't. That would make my mom mad. I try not to do that. That's
Sometimes you have to give credit to the opponent. You know who you don't give credit to though is my co-host Ricardo Arguello, who's also a big Chicago Bears fan.
And his Bears. Yeah, no.
And I understand he's going to no credit at all. We can't stand the guy. I don't know why he's even on the show anymore, but
I've been asking that question forever.
What is he doing there, ruining the party? But I think Ricardo's going to be on Cheesehead TV with Brian on Friday morning. So I'm a little disappointed. A little disappointed that Brian reached out to him.
See, I would never do that. I went right for you, Brett.
Yeah, there we go. I appreciate that.
No problem. So anyway, we are speaking with Brett Christopherson, one of the hosts of Clubhouse Live, along with the Ricardo guy we were just talking about that we don't like, and Ty Montgomery. So in any case, I think we've dissected the on-field stuff enough for one night. So just going to have one more question for you, and we'll go back to something Clubhouse Live related. You've had a large assortment of different Packers players on Clubhouse Live. I'm curious which players you would say were the most comfortable or the most uncomfortable behind a microphone.
That's a great question. Wow. Most comfortable, slam dunk, without a doubt, is Eddie Lacy. He's been on the show, I think, 3 times now, and every time the show is almost off the rails. I am mentally exhausted after an Eddie Lacy appearance on our show. I just go home and I crash. He is a character. He's funny. He's fun, lighthearted, and has no problem with the microphone whatsoever. Trying to think actually one of the guys that I thought was a little, I guess, shy. Can I say that about a professional football player? Was Ty Montgomery. When we had him on last year. Very quiet, very reserved, and when I heard he was really interested in co-hosting the show this year, I thought, well, that's interesting, okay, but he's broken out of his shell and doing a good job. Jared Bush was another one that was a character, and it was funny because in his bio he claims to have been a very good drummer, a tuba player, and a trombone player. So, in true Clubhouse Live fashion, we had him on 3 times, and we had instruments each time to test them out. Surprised him. He couldn't play the drums. He couldn't get a toot out of the trombone, which was hilarious. And then we got him on the tuba, and he was able to finally get some. I don't know what note it was. I've never heard it before. It sounded terrible, but he was able to get something out of the tuba. So, but he played along, had a good time. So he was fun to hang out with. We've had Aaron Rodgers on twice. He was great both times. He was a lot of fun. Played the How Well Do You Know game about one of the Wisconsin topics that you were talking about before. So that's one of the things that I've found in doing the show is how down to earth all these guys really seem to be, and how normal they all seem to be. Even a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he was very, very laid back, very loose, very comfortable. He was kind of making faces for the camera when we were getting ready to introduce him onto the stage. So played the crowd really well, and gave him credit for making the trip down to Appleton. The second time we had Aaron on was part of a fundraiser show that helped benefit John Kuhn's charity, House of Hope. So raised a lot of good money for his charity, and that was really very gracious of Aaron to do that. So I'm trying to think of any other like kind of quiet guys or guys that had trouble behind the mic. You know, we've had Mike Daniels on. He's just always angry. He's never happy. I'm trying to think. Blake Martinez this year was outstanding with the microphone. It was very natural in front of the camera. So I can't really think of any guys that really struggled with the microphone or with being in front of a crowd or being in front of a camera. They all seem to be pretty good at it.
Okay, interesting to hear some of those names you throw out there.
Yeah.
All right, CD.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Brett Christopherson here on Cheesehead Radio. He is the host of the ever-famous Clubhouse Live. You can find him over at the Post-Crescent in USA Today Sports. He's on Twitter at PCBrettC. PC stands for Post-Crescent. I'm guessing not politically correct. He is also the author of Forward Back, Mickey Crow. Fantastic guy. We really enjoyed having you on the show. Thanks so much for your insight, Brett. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Well, I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. Great to visit with you tonight, and hopefully we can do it again down the line.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brett.
All right.
Thanks, Brett.
Yep.
Thanks, Brett.
Right. You bet. Good night, guys.
All right. Okay.
All right. Well, that was nice. Absolutely. Well, we've reached that point in the show where we're just going to kind of throw out our last little tidbit that we want to talk about. What did I do?
when you say something and then nobody says anything and then absolutely, like you answer your own. Never mind. I don't know why. I just find it funny.
In my head, I'm having a tremendous conversation.
Right. Now, it's not your fault. We were all silent. I'm not blaming you. It's just funny how you come out of that, to me, anyway. Please proceed.
I have to recover somehow. Yeah. It's time for that very cool part of the show where we get to spit out whatever tidbit is on our mind. We call this
Hot Pocket.
We're spitting out our Hot Pockets?
That's the only way you should. That's the only thing
Double
you should do
down.
with Hot Pockets, so.
There we are.
All right.
Final quick discussion topic. Jimmy Snowden, why don't you start us out?
Well, I was ecstatic to see the use of Ty Montgomery in the offense last week. I think it's been mind-blowingly crazy that they haven't used him more. He's had 2 huge special teams plays. He was the special teams captain. I have not understood. He also just looks like a beast of a man. His arm muscles are amazing. So I was very excited that they actually started to use him. In one game this year, he wasn't even on the field for an offensive snap. The fumble was sad, but, I was excited to see that, and I'm really hopeful that they keep using him going forward because I think it will help Aaron and help the offense. That's my Hot Pocket.
Absolutely. Jersey
Vegetarian, fructose-free Hot Pocket.
There you go.
I just want to give some props to Eddie Lacy, okay? I mean, a lot of people have gone forth with this, theory or whatnot that he doesn't really care that much about football and he's not really serious about it and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? I think he showed everybody this last week that he cares and he's damn serious, okay? I mean, what they asked him to do really was completely unfair. The Packers threw him out there injured, basically. I mean, I'm convinced that if James Starks was healthy that Eddie Lacy would not have seen the field last Sunday. But they threw him out there as the only running back. He went out there, played some snaps, hobbling on and off, getting treatment on the side, never asked to come out. Of course, the Packers kept throwing him out there even when it was completely unnecessary, like when they were down in the fourth quarter. So that's a different topic, though. I just want to give some props to the man, Eddie Lacy. I think he showed everybody what he has in him by that performance.
Hear, hear.
All right. Michelle, your Hot Pocket.
Well, I guess I'm feeling a little emo tonight because my Hot Pocket is a little bit of a downer, but I'm just looking forward to the game against the Bears. I think the big thing that the Packers really have to work on this week is their conversions in the red zone. We saw against the Cowboys, they only converted 1 of 4 trips to the red zone, which obviously isn't a winning formula. And they are 20th in the league, I believe, in red zone conversion percentage this year. And obviously that's something that's easier to do when you have a healthy running back or when you have a good tight end on the field. But maybe that's something they can get Niall Davis involved in if he's not learning some of the more complicated plays to get them down the field. But certainly, I think we'd all like to see them have a little bit more success when they do get all the way down the field, because nothing's worse than seeing a great drive just kind of fizzle.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I'll throw out my hot pocket and just waxing a little poetic on Sam Shields, who hasn't played this year. We definitely missed him on the defensive side of the ball. But the fact that he's being put on, the 6 or 8 week injured list for a concussion, I think really shows us how far we've come in terms of concussion protocol in the NFL. I can remember back to 2010, when Aaron Rodgers would get hit with a concussion, and we'd all be sitting waiting for that concussion protocol to hurry up. Remember that? It was kind of like, okay, well, hopefully, Tuesday and maybe Thursday, he'll play again. And then it was like, well, maybe he's only going to miss 1 week. We'll get him right back. And that's the way we used to approach concussions, and I think that's the way the NFL used to approach concussions. Even though we thought we were being safe even just 6 years ago, what a difference it is now. That concussion protocols are far more cautious, and I think just the whole, post-concussion syndrome and all the lawsuits, it has an effect. And maybe this is going to affect Sam Shields' career, whereas 6 years ago, could Sam Shields have been back in the game already at this point in the season?
Probably.
And that's scary. Really?
Can I just say, he's not designated to return. You don't, they changed that this year. He's just on IR for however long he's on IR.
Yeah,
so anyone who goes to IR can be the person who comes back after that. I think it's the
8-week period.
8-week period. Anyone
weeks.
can do it.
Right.
You used to have to nominate, this is my dude immediately. Now, though, you can pull from anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And
all right.
Sam Shields says he hopes to play again this year, which I think is crazy, but okay.
Week 14 is what he said.
Yeah,
we'll see if that happens.
From our defense needs him, but I think he needs his brain.
Yes. Yeah, that comes first.
Yeah.
Even us crazy Packer fans should be willing to say that, right?
Yeah.
Brain comes first.
Yeah. And isn't it weird that that's probably a progression on our part, too? I mean, like I said, we were rooting for it 6 years ago. Now we're like, dude, go home.
We are so evil.
Go have a life. Go have kids.
We have evolved.
We are.
Yeah, we are.
We have.
We've evolved.
Yep.
All right.
Cheesehead Radio. Packers game predictions.
All right, we're going to take it around the horn. The Packers are going to host the Bears on Thursday Night Football. It's a pretty short week for both teams, who probably could use a little more time. So it's going to be an interesting matchup tomorrow night. What do we think is going to happen? We're going to start out with Michelle.
Well, I took a lot of heat for predicting a loss last week.
Yeah, nice.
So I'm predicting a win this week, but not by much. So I'm thinking Packers 17, Bears 13. The reason why, this is probably the only team the Packers could face right now, and I'm in Chicago, so I can't say this too loudly or I'll get a stone thrown through my window, but this is about the only team the Packers could face right now that I feel confident won't be able to put more points on the board than Green Bay. The Bears only averaging under 17 points a game, which is second last in the league. However, Green Bay's offense itself looks pretty one-dimensional given the situation at running back, so I think this is going to be a low-scoring game that the Packers ultimately eke out.
All right. Jamie Snowden, what do you say?
I say Packers 21, Bears 17. While the short week is difficult from an injury front, if there's any game, any time that I want the Packers to have this short of a week, it would be after their last game. Sometimes I think after such a bad performance, especially at home, the best thing to do is just forget about it and go immediately right back into work. So I'm kind of glad that they got it. With all of the injuries on the Packers, I can't imagine that this will be pretty, but Chicago has trouble scoring points and just trouble playing football in general. So hopefully that will help this banged-up team get a win.
All right. Jersey Al Bracco.
Well, I got to tell you, with the shape that the Packers are in, I almost feel foolish for picking Green Bay to win this game. But I think it's time that Aaron Rodgers wills this team to a win, that they work out what the issues are with the receivers and getting open. Obviously, we're not going to expect much of a run game, so this is as good a time as any for him to let it all loose and see what happens. So I'm picking the Packers 26 and the Bears 20.
Very good. My name is C.D. Angeli, and I'm going to predict the sweep here for the four of us. I'm going to predict a Packers win. I'm predicting a 19-18 win, and I picked 19 points for the scientific reason that is an impossible hand in cribbage, which just seems to be kind of the way this entire season is going. But then I did figure out that Ken score, I believe, 4 field goals and a touchdown, and I think you can actually get 19s, and that is possibly what could happen. The Packers, and then of course the Bears will kick 6 field goals, probably miss 3. It's just going to be a crazy game, and I think it's just going to be one of those. It's just going to be one of those games, those classic Packer-Bear games. That's just going to be kind of a cluster throughout the game. But the Packers come out on top. I hope. I really do.
Yeah, we all hope.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight on Cheesehead Radio, and a very special thanks to our guest, Christopherson. Make sure to head on over to PackersTalk.com, where you can explore several unique Packers podcasts. Be sure to follow at PackersTalkNet on Twitter, and like the Packers Talk Network page on Facebook. Cheesehead Radio and all the Packers Talk podcasts are available on iTunes. Just Google Packers Talk iTunes, and you'll find them. Be sure to subscribe, and please leave us a review, a good one if you can. You can also listen by using Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, or your favorite podcasting app and search for Packers Talk. Finally, please be sure to support our sponsor, Ticket King. You can find them on the web at theticketking.com. That's theticketking.com. That's a wrap. Go Pack Go. Everyone enjoy Thursday night's Color Rush football.
Colorless Color Rush.
Yeah,
Colorless Color Rush.
All right. Thanks for joining us this week. Go Pack Go.
Good night, all. Go Pack.
Go Pack. Good night.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be hard. Like early 90s heavy metal hard.
I'm yelling and screaming, and I'm loud. Roar!
Geico makes it easy. You can review and update your policy or report a claim on Geico.com or the Geico mobile app. Because shouldn't we all have a little less stress in our lives?
I'm not even upset about anything.
You've probably heard that life is about choices. But what if you don't want to choose? What if you want it all? At Rasmussen College School of Nursing, we work hard so you don't have to pick between the things that are most important to you. Expect quality, in-demand nursing programs, no wait list, 4 starts a year, affordable tuition, all offered together. Because your education is no place for compromise. Don't wait any longer. Learn more at Rasmussen